Hi, my name is Denise, and for my part of the presentation, I will be focusing on the article Why Do We Punish by Joseph Weiler, published in the year 1978. So, to start off, if we're going to be trying to understand restorative and retributive justice, we first have to understand what justice is at its very basic level. So, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, justice is the process or result of using laws to fairly judge and punish crimes and or criminals. So, what is the criminal justice system? The criminal justice system is the maintenance and transmission of social morality of the community it serves. So now that we have the basic definition of justice down, we can jump into the four definitions or the types of justice that we encounter in the article, and they are retributive and utilitarian as the first types of justice that were kind of developed as viewpoints, and then after it goes on to behavioral, and then lastly, rehabilitative. Okay, so for retributive justice. Retributive justice is basically the idea that when you break a rule, the automatic breaking of that rule in itself means that consequences needs to occur. And what I mean by consequences is punishment. And it's just a logical viewpoint that if you do the crime, you, I guess, do the time, right? I don't know if you heard that quote before, but you deserve this punishment. So this was replaced as the dominant theory in the 19th century. And psychologically speaking, this form of justice is rooted in the logical impulse to retaliate in cases of pain and wrongdoing being done onto you or your loved ones, or basically, just wrongdoing being done. So there is the idea that, like, at its core essence, there is a deserved punishment for crimes. It's like retributive basically just means, like, I guess an eye for an eye, which will be gotten into further on in our group's presentation. So the question I want to ask is this the most effective type of justice? And a short answer, no, which is what we'll be getting into later on. Secondly, we can jump into utilitarian justice now. So what is utilitarian justice? Basically, it means to promote better behavior, or the idea that when something is being done, as long as it's in favor or on behalf of the greater good, or so therefore more than the majority, then it's a good thing. So, under the philosopher Bentham, punishment now will reduce bad behavior and suffering onto others in the future. Therefore, punishment is necessary. I think this is also quite a logical viewpoint. As you'll see, all of these viewpoints are quite logical. None of them can be seen as wholly wrong, but the problem with them all is that none of them are wholly right? So, continuing on, Bentham assumes man is a pleasure-seeking and logical animal. So, the pain of punishment outweighs the benefits of crime. It's also for like I said, for the greater good. Later on, a new factor was introduced, which I will explain later, about the well-being of the criminal and a concern for rehabilitation. So, later on, when I talk about rehabilitative justice, it goes back to this idea of what's for the greater good. Utilitarian justice kind of evolved into thinking punishment or the justice system is necessary to promote better behavior, therefore rehabilitation is also necessary to promote, societal peace. Next, we can talk about behavioral justice. And behavioral justice basically just talks more on the psychological factor of things. So, man is a complex being. The previous perspectives talked about, or the kind of pre-19th century, early 19th century way of thinking, was too theoretical, and it focused on man as a really straightforward individual, a logical individual. So they would either seek pleasure or pain. And I think we all know, since we're all human, man is not that logical. Just because something might not be the most logical thing to do, it doesn't matter, because emotions get in the way. So man is viewed as a mere object of causal forces that determine human conduct. A variety of aspects will affect a human being. Therefore, justice should be for the purpose of reinforcing good behavior as much as possible. So this is the complete opposite of the retributive viewpoint. Instead of thinking like someone deserves to be punished, this is just saying that, like maybe scientifically speaking, like psychologically speaking, what will reinforce good behavior. And in this example, punishment will do that. So you need to, I guess, kind of restructure one's, like, for example, a criminal's way of thinking. How would you do that? Kind of just like, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of like that Pavlov experiment where like you basically like condition the animal to like do something, like when you train a dog, right? So I guess, I mean, it's not good to compare humans to dogs, but when you train an animal not to do something, you do it with like punishment and reward. So behavioral justice, you reward good behavior. So the reward for good behavior is no jail time, no fines, your own freedom. The punishment for bad behavior is, of course, jail time and other things. I don't know, fines. It really depends on the crime. Lastly, rehabilitative justice. This viewpoint of justice is a mix of the above viewpoints: behavioral, retributive, and utilitarian. So it's rooted in the deterrence of future crime occurring, as I explained in the utilitarian method. Basically, what is the definition of rehabilitation? You can search it up, but basically it just means the action of restoring someone to health or a normal life. So in this case, it's more of an emphasis on normal life, right? How do you rehabilitate someone? And how do you heal someone? That is the current viewpoint of the criminal justice system. So now it's no longer just this person must be punished. It's also like, how can I help this person as much as possible so that they can heal and society can heal and those affected by them can heal, while also at the same time punishing them for the crime they have committed. So the key question to ask is the status quo right now, rehabilitative justice in the present day possible and effective? We can come back to this question later, but first let's just analyze the justice system in itself briefly. So what is the reality of the criminal justice system? Are prison systems effective? No, they're not. So this is a quote directly from the article. Long prison sentences do not deter. They have the opposite effect. Numerous studies show that the longer a man stays in prison, the longer he is likely to return to crime when released. So actually, prisons can be more destructive than rehabilitative. And sadly, this is not, that's not our goal. So Yeah. So why aren't prisons effective? There's a great deal of flexibility and resources needed to best rehabilitate criminals and prevent reoffending. So the prison system is not equipped with the funds or the attention to give each individual a specific treatment and case study. Therefore, the mass incarceration often breeds a toxic and dangerous environment. Additionally, the very concept of criminals in itself needs to be examined. So each culture may have different norms and practices. In the article, it states even in indigenous culture, there is no singular word that translates to guilty. So, how are jail sentences decided, and how is this objective and subjective lens fair at all? So, when one either chooses to apply a hard line or soft stance when applying justice, you need to ask, is this fair for all parties, including the victims, the families, all the other affected groups, right? And there's not really an answer for this right now, right? What is the best approach to dealing with justice? That's our whole presentation. So back to the main question, is retributive justice good, and is it possible? The answer is very complicated. It depends. Crimes must certainly be punished in order to achieve justice for those that have been wronged. However, the current prison system is ill-equipped to truly levy justice for all. Complex interconnected processes are involved in the majority of crimes committed, and a large portion of these underlying processes stem from base-level inefficiencies in society, such as poverty, trauma, violence, and more. So, retributive justice must address these core inequalities before it can truly judge those who commit crimes willingly. Is retributive justice good and possible? Hopefully we can study that more in depth, but the bottom line is that we need to fix a lot of the inequalities in our system first. And before we can, or even if it's not first, it has to be in tandem with fixing the criminal justice system to be as efficient and rehabilitative as possible. Yeah, thank you. On to my group mates.